Me queda ya mucho. Ahí la nave que no tenemos. Está confiscada. Y nada, tenemos que salvar a Phineas. Y nos teníamos que infiltrar en la cárcel a ver qué pasa. Yo con el level que tengo podría ir tranquilamente a fuerza bruta, pero vamos a ver. Y además con el armón que llevo, o sea, no tengo miedo a nadie. ¿Nos vamos? Vámonos. Me llevo a estos dos. A los de siempre, a mi equipo infalible. Una... hago más daño con... así. A lo francotirador. Creo que vamos a ir a lo bestia, ¿eh? Esos son enemigos. ¡Ah! ¡Piu, piu! Pero primero, por si acaso... ¿Cómo se sale de aquí? Ah, vale, me puedo camuflar. ¡Oh! Buenos días. No pasa nada, no pasa nada. ¡Oh! La infiltración de momento viene. Soy level 44, yo pensaba que era level 42. Espérate. Ya está al máximo. Vale. A correr. Y aquí tengo una ventaja más. Venga, esto mismo. Esta mierda no la quiero. A ver. No sé qué hago con eso, macho. Es que realmente voy a usar las demás cosas, no eso. Pero bueno. Parece efectivo. Buenos días. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? ¡Nos atacan! ¡Atacad! ¡Atacad! ¡Nos están atacando! Mientras no corra todo va bien. Ajá, espérate. Voy a aprovechar a deshacerme de mierda. A ver, ¿cómo era para añadir la basura? Eso es. Por ejemplo, esto, basura. Teniendo esto que es level 40, pues ya está. Porque eso es un arma especial que se nos iba a la basura también. Se vende guay. Ahora. Eso, ¡ah! Esa no es mala, ¿eh? Y se puede mejorar y es mejor. Y ya está. Buah, es que esto es buenísimo. No puedo. Madre mía. ¿Qué tienes tú puesto? 62 de armadura. Tú te vas a poner este. Ay, espera. Que se me ha olvidado añadir todo esto a la basura. Basura. Espérate. Basura. 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 Es que no es mala, ¿eh? Pero esta es mejor. Esa me gusta. Y ahora sí no tengo una mierda de dinero, ¿eh? ¿Qué le puedo poner a ver? A ver, pone ahí lo que sube y todo eso. ¿Esto qué hace? No. Eso estaría guay. Esto estaría guay. Esto, a ver. Solo por el diálogo. Hala. Nos vamos. No sé qué está pasando, pero yo me voy. Al foso. De momento la infiltración está yendo bien. Ah, tontería. Buenos días. Pues esto está siendo todo un paseo, ¿eh?
All right, MSI. I'm not one for rousing speeches, but the captain needs our help. So get in there and fight.
Adiós.
Waste of company ammo.
No puedo volver a recuperar el... Es la guerra o algo, ¿eh?
Hey, you!
¿Qué pasa?
Are you new here? I didn't think we were hiring more staff. Oh, no. Please.
Esa ha sido buena, ¿eh? ¿Qué haces hablándome estando de guardia?
Thank you.
Hay que ser duros, hombre. A tomar por culo a casa. Se lo puedo hacer dos veces más, ¿eh? Uf, llama mucho la atención subiendo y bajando escaleras. Buenos días. Qué sellada. Me cago en la leche. Vamos. Ah, qué bien se me resetea. ¿Qué hay? ¿Por qué hay un muerto aquí? Buenos días. Buenos días. ¡Corre! ¿Está sellado? Voy a tener que encontrar alguna trola. A ver. Ah, no, no, con los M6 me llevo bien. Buenos días.
After all you've done, all the work you've destroyed, all the money you cost me, your mistake has doomed Halcyon. Fantastic. The biggest thorn in our side we've ever had, and you just like to cause trouble.
Por supuesto. ¿Qué hace con Phineas ahí?
In other circumstance, I'd admire your boldness. In this one, however, I have only 2 words for you. Fuck off. Psychopathic outlaws don't deserve the time. Thankfully, you're in a prison already. Find the nearest cell and wait until I'm done here. Then I'll drag you to the executioner myself. Is that sarcasm?
Claro.
People who employ the lowest, most base form of humor? I fire them. Alas, as you are woefully unemployed, I'll have to do the next best thing and have you killed.
Venga.
In the next room is the finest auto-mechanical purveyor of death ever made. Try not to scratch the paint with your skull. It was fucking expensive. Absolutely not. Akande was always the sociable one, not me.
Así que la asesiné
The
cruelmente.
magic 2 words.
Bueno, pues nada, nos toca luchar contra un mecha o algo. Vamos a guardar por si acaso. Vamos a armarnos hasta los dientes, ¿no? Vaya mierda de máquina. ¿Ya está? Esta es la super máquina. Esta es la super máquina. Pues nada. Y eso me cuesta un huevo, tal, no sé qué, pues. Mira, encima me están dando balas para esta. Muy bien. Nada, chicos. O chicas en este caso. A seguir.
Seems like a halcyon after all.
¿Qué ha pasado? Payaso.
You don't know how glad I am to see you.
¿Está?
You lunatic. You broke into the board's own fortress and killed the chairman just to rescue one doddering old man? You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough. Ah, all in a day's work for you.
Por
huh?
supuesto.
You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish.
¿Qué pasa?
You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated. I would like nothing more than to celebrate this victory, but we
¿Qué
have a
pasa ahora?
serious problem on our hands. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
They haven't exactly been hands-on around here anyway. So there's one less rubber stamp to worry about.
Earth is humanity's home planet, Miss Fenhill. The psychological effects of losing our original home will be devastating.
Ujú.
So we've got to make do on our own. Seems to me that'll make us stronger in the end anyhow.
You're quite right. We've got no choice but to make do on our own.
Pues nada.
We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own. Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds, and then we're going to fix this damn colony.
Yo pensaba que se iba a acabar el juego ya.
We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job. You've certainly earned your freedom. Halcyon is a better place with you around. You've kept your end of our bargain. Now it's time I kept mine. I'll revive the Hope's colonists myself, and we'll get on with the business of saving this colony. You're the best thing to ever happen to Halcyon. If you want to take it upon yourself to lead this colony, you have my support.
Sí.
We're not a colony any longer, are we? Our last connection to Earth has been severed, and so we have been set free. Our future is uncertain, and no one knows what tomorrow holds. Exciting, isn't it?
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful
¿Llegó a saber que era esto solo?
Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and
Han sido 20 minutos, tío. La infiltración, yo pensaba que iba a estar hostiándome con todo el mundo y no, ha sido una infiltración perfecta.
Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them
¿Qué pasó? Yo pensaba que iba a haber muchos tiros y tenía un traje de infiltración. Y me he ido de paseo por la base hasta el boss final. Y el boss final, una máquina que nos hemos gastado un montón de dinero, tal, no sé qué. Ha muerto de una manera y luego pues se ha ido por el boss y ha muerto también. Pues nada, si esto se ha acabado le voy a dar al sign row, ¿lo tengo más claro? No le estoy haciendo ni caso, no sé si se están dando cuenta, porque tanto texto... Me están hablando de todos los personajes que he conocido. Hasta que creía en los aliens y así.
The collapse of Edgewater left its workers bereft of any purpose in life. Most of them made their way to Adelaide McDevitt's camp, hoping to ingratiate themselves into her favor. Adelaide accepted only a few to her community. The rest were turned away and likely died of starvation. Nevertheless, Adelaide's camp grew into a well-established town. Adelaide McDevitt refused to cooperate with the ongoing effort to save Halcyon from collapse. A sympathetic deserter stole a copy of her research and delivered it to the Hope's scientists. It is unclear how useful Adelaide's research was. An optimistic estimate suggests her work may have bought Halcyon another few years of survival. Adelaide would never know. She died that winter.
Ay, qué pena me da.
Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers, schooled in her family's traditions. The future of the groundbreaker looks promising. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Even the Gorgon asteroid, though a distant enigma to most of Halcyon, felt the
En Gorgona, sí, que ese es el DLC.
The Gorgon project created divisions among Wells' newly awakened scientists. Many wanted to let the facility and its failures rot.
Que salve al final esta, el asteroide.
The work of the original scientists, and perhaps the lives of Halcyon's masses. Minnie Ambrose made a compelling case for the benefits of an improved Adrena time formula. One that could reinvigorate Halcyon's exhausted, malnourished workforce as they fought for survival in a new and uncertain world. She led the project, committed to reasonable schedules and honest reporting. In spite of everything, the Gorgon asteroid remained a sobering reminder of the potential for progress and disaster in humanity's most ambitious efforts. The Rizzo's company in Halcyon dissolved
Este es el segundo DLC.
of the board. Needless to say, the launch of Spectrum Brown was indefinitely delayed. A stockpile of Spectrum Brown remains buried deep beneath the ruins of the old distillery.
Que me carga el dueño, porque era el malo al final.
Time and attrition. Ruth Bellamy never forgot the words you said to her. She coped with Belinda's death by committing to live in a way that would make her sister proud. When the remnants of the colony banded together, Ruth Bellamy was there to help. She devoted her remaining years and resources to saving the colony. Years later, when the worst of the crisis had passed,
Bueno, puedo omitir, pero
returned to Halcyon's culture.
quiero ver qué me dicen a mí.
An aging Ruth Bellamy tried her hand at directing. Her first Aetherwave drama was dedicated to the
La
memory
capitana de la
of
falible, o sea, yo.
and to her old friend, Captain of the Unreliable. The dissolution of the board did not mean the dissolution of the ambition of Cedric Kincannon, the charismatic leader of Sublight Underground. Cedric offered Slug's transportation services
Este me caía mal, pero al final era bueno.
flawed colonists, and set to work ferrying resources and food wherever they were most needed. For better or worse, Slug headgear became fashionable in the following years. As
Tío,
the
son 10
board
minutazos
began
de...
to disintegrate, Spencer Woolrich found himself at a crossroads. Cling to what little stardom remained to him, or help usher Halcyon into its new future. To the
Tan
surprise
payaso.
of many, perhaps himself most of all, Spencer chose the latter option. Having learned a variety of different skills in the many different roles played throughout his lengthy career, Spencer founded a radio serial dedicated to staying alive despite the odds.
Y cómo hablaba también, daba un asco cómo hablaba.
How to survive violent encounters with only grazing wounds.
Pasa.
Dispense pithy one-liners for tense scenarios. And, of course, how to look good.
Yo aprovecho a comerme un tiburón.
After a brief attempt at dating Helen as one person rather than two, which both Bertie and Helen
Esto no sé
found
ni quién es.
too strange, Bertie struck out on his own to try his hand at raising woolly cows. Many of his former Rangers teammates soon followed, accompanied by the woolly cow the team had originally plied with alcohol. The dairy farm thrived under Bertie's leadership.
A ver, ¿quién es el siguiente random?
The dairy rangers privately believed that the woolly cows softened Bertie's temper considerably. Although the only one brave enough to say this to his face was promptly headbutted.
Es que encima sí me estoy durmiendo,
Your
tío.
influence shifted.
Hombre, ahora mis compañeros.
She finally admitted, albeit grudgingly, that she just might need other people. Sometimes. With a steady income from the life insurance payouts, she was finally able to afford a ship of her own. She hired a small crew and flew supply missions to communities on the
Y
fringe.
claro, porque hice todas sus misiones, así que a ver qué me dicen.
Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came.
Nunca me caíste bien,
There was no
Félix.
great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the
Era un bocazo
hard,
charlatán.
desperate work of
Ya
trying
está.
to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As much as he enjoyed his adventures aboard the
Este es el
Unreliable,
cura.
the vicar, known as Max, eventually decided that it was time to move on.
Otro que me caía
To
súper
live
mal.
out the life he had sought so long to create.
Solo se unió a mí porque era el primer personaje que se
He knew there were
une.
many in the colony who carried burdens much worse than the ones he had struggled with, and he devoted himself to easing their suffering wherever he could. He only ever took up arms again to defend the defenseless, unshackled from a lifetime of striving and
Nokia, a ver,
fighting the
Nokia.
universe and himself. Vicar Maximilian de Soto was finally at peace. What's the matter with the hope?
Ah, esta sí me caía bien.
Resolved?
Esta no es Nokia, esta es la lesbi.
If she'd like to join her permanently on the Groundbreaker, and Parvati enthusiastically
Se quedó la pionera para siempre.
agreed. The stories of her adventures spread across the colony, and Parvati soon found herself the center of attention. Having served as the engineer of a
Es que su misión secundaria era ayudarle a ligar con una tía que le gustaba.
sought her out by name, and in no time, she was a fixture in the Groundbreaker's mechanical ecosystem. She and Junlei were never far apart. Nyoka
Y esta es
returned to
Nokia.
Monarch to take
Esta
another
era una crack, la borracha que le encantaba cazar.
herself. She formed the Charon Group, an MSI subsidiary of ragtag survivalists and wilderness experts. Anyone in need of a guide, or just looking to throw back a beer and swap stories, could find her camping on the trail.
Esta encima era muy buena luchando, por eso me la llevaba.
Before his untimely death, Captain Alex Hawthorne had
Porque no sé ni
planned to
quién fue.
restore and modify, for combat purposes, a sanitation and maintenance automechanical that he'd found in a state of disrepair in Emerald Vale's scrapyard. That unit remains broken down and forgotten.
Yo no sabía que estaba eso.
In the supply closet to this day. Minister Clark was released from
¿Quién
house
es
arrest,
este?
and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed
Este es un
presence.
don nadie, tío. Es
Once
que
it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon
20
manage the
minutos,
crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas
Y este es el que me
Wells,
rescató.
he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. He eventually came to terms with his own past and was able to forgive the mistakes of his younger self by devoting his remaining years to serving the colony.
Fuerte chapa.
Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the ministry.
Gracias al que robé.
Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost.
Aquí me imagino que depende de lo que yo haga,
In the end,
cambiará
Dr.
alguna
Wells
historia,
was able to
alguna
save
cosa, lo que
every
sea.
scientist and engineer aboard the Hope. Over the next decade,
Vamos, que va a sacar al final bueno, digo yo.
colonists were successfully revived. Halcyon saw a period of rapid technological and scientific advancement. Breakthroughs in
No sé, pero una
diagnostics
chapa
saved the
más
colony from starvation.
importante.
Geoengineering projects and social reforms began to change the structure and character of the colony.
El faro del final es cuánto,
Dr. Wells laid the
2-3
groundwork
minutos
for
como
the
mucho.
project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived.
Vaya por Dios.
Today, Halcyon has stabilized. The people of the colony work hard to adapt to their new circumstances. Nearby colonies send aid and supplies. Life will never be easy in Halcyon. but
Hay
for the first
esperanza en el
time its
futuro.
history, there exists a sense of real, genuine hope about the future. And what about you?
¿Y yo?
The unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon. You brought an end to the chaos in Tartarus and left Dr. Wells to his own devices. The affairs of the colony never distracted
Eso es
you
lo que yo
from living
quería.
out your own dreams. to captain a ship, to sail the ether, and to earn a reputation as the greatest spacer Halcyon ever had. No one knows what's happened to Earth.
Pero perdieron contacto con la Tierra, ¿eh? De verdad, o sea, porque no se pueden ni acercar.
The name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Y se acabó el juego. ¡Vaya chapón! Podría decir que es como un Fallout pocho el juego, en resumen. Pero bueno, ya este domingo tenemos análisis. Que ya lleva un par de semanas sin hacer análisis. Realmente un poco por vagancia, ¿eh? A ver si me pongo otra vez a ello. ¿Esto qué? Nino, Nino. Tiroriro. Escape. Ah, pues mira, sí, escape. Yo pensaba que no iba a hacer nada. Pues nada, a tomar por culo. Fuera juego. Dame un segundín antes de seguir. Quiero hacer una cosita. Es más, me apetece que lo veáis, pero quiero que se cargue. No quiero iniciar. La madre que lo trajo. Espera. Que se inicie el juego otra vez. Madre mía. Gracias. ¿Cómo se quitaban los juegos de aquí? Aquí. Ay, 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 ay. Hostia, 52 gigazos, eh. Ah, sí, se ve, se ve. Pensaba que no se veía. Mira, 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 mira. Plus. Plus. A casa. Tenía unas ganas de quitármelo de encima ya el juego. 52